in the northwest, the wrongly accused, facing a foe whose motives are abused. In the courtroom battlefield, they'll stand tall, unveiling corruption. They'll conquer it all against the corrupt prosecutors' wrath. Words like weapons cutting like a path, challenging system that's filled with lies, seeking truth with justice in their eyes.
Heyo! Got back from work, set everything up, and it is day 143 in the Young Thug RICO trial, the YSL trial. I have no idea what will happen because nobody knows. I will assume that the prosecution will have some kind of misconduct. How can I guess that? Well, based on everything they've done so far in this trial. That's it. So, okay, hello folks. Christine, Diogo, Iron Rabbit, Shah Us, Your First Fan, Factual Lie, Lone Star Living, and yeah, and a bunch of others. And hello you over at Twitter/X, who I'm also streaming to. Well, I don't see why we can't just get. I've heard a rumor that a juror hasn't shown up yet, but there was some talking before, so let's just move in and see what today has in mind. Day 143. Wow.
And that there might be objection to some of the witnesses who the state has requested not be shown. I don't know who's objecting or what the objection is.
I objected initially to 3, but I narrowed that down to 2, Your Honor.
Okay. And who are those?
Let me look, just one moment, Your Honor.
Hey, Doug. And while Doug is looking for his paper, thank you so much, Iron Rabbit, for gifting 5 memberships. To Politicking with Mel, 503 Grumps, Rodney Hewitt, Purple Paradox, and Miss Bright 1. Congratulations, you now have access to all my members-only content, members-only emojis, and Discord as soon as I put up a new link for members. Okay. Thank you so much, Iron Rabbit. Thank you.
An objection to Reed not being shown, Your Honor, and also to Brock.
Okay.
And I'm just asking if they not be shown that the state meet the requisite showing laid out in the court's order for the reason for them not being shown.
And what is the reason? Because all I got was the witness list.
Yes, Your Honor. I was going to ask if the parties could approach.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, prosecution. What's the actual reason? Christine Fortunato is here. And Jazz Dawson. No Kursan. Hey. Dimples Dawson. Don Dada. Vibe in my lane. That's a good name. Okay. Why aren't we allowed to hear that? Or aren't they ready? Skipping ahead. Oh, come on. Oh, there she is.
F. Reed is not to be shown and M. Smith is not to be shown.
Okay. Why? 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 Did they do that as a sidebar? Yeah, I say it counts as a sidebar. Which brings us to sidebar counter 289.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all don't have the list? It's Friday witness.
May I respond to that, Your Honor?
Yes.
And echo.
How's this? I would just suggest that you may be looking at it, the list on your phone, and the highlights don't show up on the phone. If you check on your computer, you'll be able to see the highlights, I believe. Okay?
All right, thanks. Okay, are there other matters before we have the jury in this morning? Nope? Okay. All right, and is the jury ready? Okay, are we gonna have Agent Bernie, Special Agent Bernie? Okay, do you wanna go ahead and get him on the stand?
Special Agent Bernie. Is that the tool mark guy?
To see anything?
Do we have to start
And do you
Monday
need
with the tool
those
mark guy?
boards set up again?
Not at the beginning, Your Honor.
Okay,
One request that this is not able to, it's fine, but is it possible for the condo board to be used? He's gonna be pointing and referencing a lot
Yeah.
through Zoom.
Mhm.
If that's not too cumbersome for the board, I think it will make it
Okay.
easier. And I-
sure,
Thank you, Your Honor.
okay.
It'll just take a second.
All right, yeah, we'll take a second to get that set up, and then after that's ready, we'll have the jury in.
Mr. Atkins, I'm sorry I missed that. Are you going to be using a board again this morning?
I'm not going to be using the boards when I'm starting this morning. I may use them at some point, but I don't intend to start with them at this time.
Okay.
Now, will we be able to see the Mondo, what's on the Mondo board through Zoom still, or will it go just to this?
Judge, it'll be the same thing that's on Zoom. The only thing that they won't be able to, that everybody won't be able to see necessarily is how he's pointing to it.
Okay.
Whatever's on the screen will be exactly the same as what's
All
on
right.
the screen.
Thank you. You can have a seat till the jury
Thanks, Your
comes in.
Mr. Adkis is the one. Yeah, Agent Bernie with his boards, or without his boards.
So we actually don't have all the jurors here. We're missing one juror, so it's, I don't know when it's going to be that we have them all. It's not quite 9 yet anyway.
Your Honor, may I run out to the restroom?
Sure. Good morning. Oh, we don't. Yeah, I don't know. Sergeant Ingram was going to check.
That doesn't count as a sidebar, sadly. Skipping ahead. They're not talking. Now, for you who wonder, Nick, are you going to stream the Friday? The answer to that is no. The important thing I already made videos about. And other than that, it was a glorious day when Miss Love didn't attend. So they got a lot of work done. Isn't that strange? The moment she leaves the courtroom, things get done without misconduct, without anything. Glorious.
Yes, thank you. So I would just let the court know that I believe that Mr. Steele's motion that he filed on Friday morning would be moot as it relates to Mr. Sprinkle, because there's no intention during the continued direct examination of Mr. Sprinkle to ask any questions that would elicit a response as it relates to charging decisions and things of that nature, which I believe was the basis for his motion. So because of that, I believe the motion would be moot.
Okay, well.
Yeah, you can't state that before. Oh, we don't intend to, so the motion is mute. No, prosecutor Adkis. No. That motion is live until Mr. Sprinkle leaves the stand. You can't say, in my opinion at least, we're not going to ask him that. Well, that's you, Mr. Adkins, Butkis, I don't know. If Miss Love is asking the questions, then be sure some tomfoolery will. Yeah, let's keep on. Hey, Kat.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Agent, Ms. Winfrey. Your Honor, Mr. Body told me that a little while ago, and yes, I believe that would moot that
Right.
specific motion.
Okay, thank you.
Although I was interested in seeing everything that.
I'm sure. Okay, and then we'll still expect response on the other two by whatever that deadline is that I gave y'all that I can't remember anymore. Friday, okay. All right. Okay, well, as soon as we have the final juror, we'll get started. All right, we've got the final juror, so let's go ahead and bring them out.
Oh, the guy on the left. Is that a bait? A bait? I have no clue how he pronounces his last name. Oh, that's the person allegedly who wrote the interesting special condition. You shall not commit no crime. Double negative. No Curacao. Wonder what the Euro will think when love is missing. They will cheer and applaud and bring out the champagne. I don't know. A baddie. A bate. A botte. I have no idea what his last name is. How is pronouncing his last name? No, I must say, I'm not interested either.
All right, thank you. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope y'all enjoyed your time off and are ready to get back to business. And we have got,
Not today.
we've got Special Agent Bernie was with us when we broke. And so Special
yeah.
Agent Bernie, I'll just remind you that you're still under oath. And Mr. Atkins, you can go ahead and pick up with your questioning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Agent Bernie.
Good morning.
Now, in addition to toll analysis, did you ever, or were you ever requested to perform any cell site tower analysis related to this case?
Oh,
Were you, how did that come about?
I was asked by your office to review several phones, and they're called detail records, or they're records with tower information, as it related to several incidents.
It was one of,
Can you hear both? Can you hear the court well? But just checking if I need to use a booster, another booster. Dun dun dun. Oh, it's good. Okay, good.
those incidents, the January 10th, 2015 murder of Donovan Thomas?
It was.
And after conducting your analysis, did you ever generate a report?
I did.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
How come he only get papers when Mr. Sprinkle got his laptop? What, was the printer out of paper?
I am handing the witness what has been marked as 532 Yankee. Agent Bernie, what is 532 Yankee?
This is a copy of my report.
And is it a fair and accurate depiction of the report you created for the January 10th, 2015 incident?
It is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state tenders into evidence 532 Yankee.
All right, that's admitted.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I don't mind it being admitted to help the agent testify, but I will have a continuing witness objection. It was made for purposes of this trial.
All right, understood. Is this just for demonstrative purposes?
Your Honor, could we address that at a later time?
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Agent Bernie, taking a step back, how in general do cell phones work in relation to towers?
Yeah, so when a phone's on, it's scanning the environment, looking for the strongest, clearest.
Oh, that's a professional witness. Get the question and then immediately, yes, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Signal, the best signal for the phone to use. And then when you're ready to place a call, the phone chooses the tower with the best signal. So when I leave here today and call my wife, tell her I'm on my way home, hit the green button to place the call. The phone chooses the tower with the best signal. Normally the closest tower, but not always, depending upon a couple factors. But normally the closest tower. My phone call then will go for however long it is. And then when that call is ended, that call then shows up in my call detail records, the records for my phone, right? It'll show the date and time of that phone call, that I called my wife, we talked for 60 seconds, and that the phone shows this tower in this sector as the best signal to initiate the call.
Hey, good morning, Mahadi de Jesus. Good morning, and thank you so much for your $2 super chat. Thank you so much. That is so nice of you. Thank you, thank you.
And then, as I continue to use the phone, more records are populated showing the towers and sectors used for those calls.
Your Honor, the state is going to be publishing page 3.
Yeah, I knew it. I never streamed the plea bargain hearings thingies. But I did check in on them, and yeah, the plea conditions weren't fully read at the colloquy for Ghana. And it was love, of course. Thank you, Kat, for being here and informing us while we are trying to survive this absolute bore fest of a testimony.
Of 532 Yankee.
All right.
Now, Agent Birdie, can you describe how cell tower sectors work in relation to cell phone calls?
Yeah, so this slide here, page here, shows the most common types of cell phone towers. So the ones on the left-hand side, the monopole, the lattice work, structural, the guy wire tower, those are the most common ones we see as we drive down the interstate or drive through downtown Atlanta. One thing to note on the structural towers, those white vertical substances there are the antennas themselves. So they could put antennas on the sides of buildings or water towers to make those towers or sectors as well. One thing to note is everything on the right-hand side is also a cell phone tower. Obviously we don't have a fake cactus here in Atlanta. This is from a park in Phoenix, Arizona. But it just shows that not all cell phone towers are created equal. Some are smaller, like this fake cactus here, services a park or a region around a park. And some are really tall, like the lattice work or monopole tower.
And Agent Bernie, in terms of analyzing call detail records, is there any significance to these different towers that you just went through for the jury?
Yeah, so depending upon the type of the tower and the tower density.
Why not just show it? These are the cell towers in Atlanta, in that region. Why not show examples of those? Because this, in my opinion, is just confusing. I highly doubt they have cactus antenna in Atlanta. I honestly doubt it. Or what's that? A pine tree antenna. Might be a flag, but I would assume the normal ones are the two on the left. Or maybe the four on the left. The rest are just decorative stuff.
Where lots of towers are depends on kind of the range of the tower, right? Where more people live and more people work, there's going to be more towers. As we get into the rural parts of our state, there's gonna be less tower. So, a small, tower like this fake cactus here, obviously is gonna service a small area versus a really tall monopole or lattice work tower that could be 150, 200 feet tall is gonna have a much larger area for coverage.
Agent Bernie, how are cell towers put in and how are those locations chosen?
Yeah, so it really depends on, again, where people live and where people work. They want to be able to provide coverage to all the areas. So that way, when we want to use our phone, we can. Obviously, if we have AT&T and we don't have service in a certain area, we probably won't have AT&T for very long, right? We'll switch to another provider. So if you think about the way they put cell phone towers in, it's kind of like a sprinkler system for a yard, right? We want everywhere in our yard to get water. We don't want one sprinkler head to shoot, this far, another one to shoot this far, and there be a gap between those two sprinkler heads, where it gets no water. Because in Georgia, obviously the grass would die if it got too hot. What they want to do is you want to overlap one sprinkler head into the other sprinkler head's coverage area so that there's overlap. But we don't want to overlap too much and flood our whole yard with water. But we want enough overlap so everywhere gets water. There's no dead space. That's exactly how cell phone towers are put in. One tower overlaps another tower, or sector side of the tower would overlap another sector. That way we can take our devices and we can travel everywhere. There's supposed to be no dead spots to where there's no cell phone reception.
And Agent Bernie, what is the range of cell towers?
Yeah, so again, the range is a common question, but it really depends on the density of towers, right? So what we're going to see is where towers are closer together, the range is going to be smaller than where towers are farther and farther apart. There's more area to cover.
Agent Bernie, are cell towers supposed to provide coverage to specific areas?
They are. So again, certain towers, if there's a brand new apartment building or a hotel, they may put a new tower in to cover that area, or they may change the orientation of the sides of a tower in order to provide coverage.
Publishing page 4. Agent Bernie, can you describe for the jury what cell tower sectors are?
Yeah, so again, when a provider wants to provide coverage in an area, they put in a cell phone tower, right? A single tower, and that provides coverage in a 360 degrees. Well, in order to get more customers to use that tower, they take that one tower, which covers a full circle, 360 degrees, and they divide that into 3 equal parts. That makes each side or sector approximately 120 degrees. And that allows basically 3 times the amount of users that a single pole, if it was just one antenna, would be able to do. So what we see here is on the left-hand side, the triangle shape in the middle, that's the cell phone tower. And this would be us sitting above the cell phone tower looking down. So in this sector, in this illustration, again, we see sector number 1 or side number 1. The middle of it points towards 0 degrees. And again, since we know each side or sector is approximately 120 degrees, again, 360 divided by 3 gives us that 120. We know if the middle is at 0 degrees, that sector services 60 degrees to the left and 60 degrees to the right of 0. So that gives us the general left and right boundaries of a cell phone sector. One thing to also note is that each tower and sector is uniquely numbered, meaning if we're looking for T-Mobile tower 1, 2, 3, in T-Mobile's tower list, there's only one tower labeled 1, 2, 3 in their entire network. And then it tells us the orientation or the direction in which each side or sector points. So it's like a fingerprint in the network. It allows us to know exactly the tower and the side of the tower that was used by each phone.
And Agent Bernie, for all of the cell phone providers that you analyzed for this case, do they all indicate which sector a tower was used for a specific call?
So it depends upon the records. Most of them do. Some Sprint devices, based on how they recorded information. So each cell phone provider keeps their records slightly different. And when they change from 3G to 4G to 5G, they oftentimes change the way they keep their records. So there are some records for Sprint that would only show a tower information. It won't show the size. But we'll talk more about that when it shows up in the analysis.
Publishing page 5. So Agent Burney, how can you describe for the jury, using this illustration, the orientation of sectors?
Yeah, so again, in this instance, if we look on the left-hand side, this is how we're going to take the information from the call detail records and the tower list and put it on a map so that we can see a general area where a device was when it had an activity. So again, on the left-hand side, the triangle shape is the tower. This is us above the tower looking straight down. And we see, in this case, again, it used side number 1 or sector number 1. And what we've done now is we put a red line on the left-hand side of the boundary and a red line at the right-hand side of the approximate boundary of the sector. And then we've kind of shaded the area in the middle to say, hey, we're looking between these 2 lines there. That shaded area, that doesn't mean that's what the coverage of the tower is, nor does it say, hey, the phone is located inside that shaded area. Again, it's just showing that's the side or sector of the tower. On the right-hand side is what you'll see how it's going to be shown on a map. Again, we have the red line on the left, the red line on the right to show the approximate left and right boundaries. You see where the points of the V kind of meet at the middle. It's hard to see, but there's a green dot. That's the cell phone tower right there.
And Agent Burney, do cell phone provider companies ever share towers with one another?
So they can share towers, but they never share antennas. So think of phones as children, right? We teach children don't talk to strangers. Well, that's exactly what happens in cell phone networks, right? T-Mobile only talks to T-Mobile phones. Verizon only talks to Verizon phones. So again, a phone company could share a tower. There could be one tower in a spot that everyone really likes, and there could be T-Mobile antennas at the top. Next tier could be Verizon, and the next tier down could be AT&T.
There's a slight lag on the Zoom, Agent Burney, but can you describe, with the towers we discussed, how would towers in, say, downtown Atlanta with this sector and orientation compare to towers in a more rural part of Georgia?
Yeah, again, where more people live and more people work, there's going to be more towers. So those towers, again, more towers kind of limits the range of each of those towers. Because again, we don't want to overpower towers by other towers. But that being said, not all cell phone towers are created equal. We saw in the picture, there's really tall lattice work towers, right? And then there's smaller fake cactuses, right? Where they could put antennas. They do here in Atlanta. They put antennas on the sides of street corners. And that just covers like a certain block. Maybe there's a popular place for people to hang out or businesses or whatever, so that can cover a small area. So on some of the maps, you're going to see a lot of dots closer together. They're all cell phone towers, but it doesn't mean that all of those cell phone towers are 150 feet off the ground. Some of them could be smaller towers or antennas in certain areas.
Agent Burney, how is it determined what tower a cell phone will use to make or receive a call?
Yeah, so again, when the phone's on the network, not being used, it's scanning the environment, looking for the best signal. And the phone then chooses that tower with the best signal to start the phone call.
Will the strongest signal always be the closest tower?
Not necessarily. Again, cell phone and RF energy is based a lot on what's called line of sight. So as long as the tower can see the phone and vice versa, the phone can see the tower, it's going to be good. Now, some towers are taller and their line of sight is farther than the ones that are closer to the ground. So again, the phone is going to choose the tower with the best signal, normally one of the closest towers, especially in an urban area like downtown Atlanta, may not be the closest tower.
And Agent Burney, say you're traveling down the highway, how is it that your phone will decide or choose to change towers at some point?
Yeah, so again, the phones are always scanning the environment, looking for the best signal. And if you're in one spot here, your best signal could be this tower on the left-hand side. But as you move down the block, you're going to get closer to the tower on the right-hand side. The signal strength and other factors would determine that the phone would choose the tower as you get closer to it on the right-hand side. Now, when you're in a call, so say I place a call on my way out of here to talk to my wife, and as I'm driving, we stay on the phone for an hour. We have lots of things to talk about, I guess. But the phone is going to choose the initial tower and sector for the call here. That's going to go in the call detail records as the first tower used, because that's where the phone call was initiated at. But as I drive an hour towards my house in Auburn, Alabama, the phone's going to jump different towers based on the signal strength. And those choices are made by the network, meaning my phone says, hey, I'm leaving the tower that's close to the courthouse. Now I'm getting closer to the other tower. And the network says, okay, switch to that tower. That will also potentially, based on the provider, show up in the call detail records. Not all providers keep every single tower that your phone uses from here to Alabama. Some just keep the very first tower.
Agent Bernie, going back to coverage area, how are you able to estimate, generally speaking, the coverage area of a tower?
Yeah, so again, it's based on the other towers and sectors that are in the area. So obviously, in an area where there's not as many towers and sectors, we can see a general area. In downtown Atlanta, where there's lots of towers, again, not all towers are created equal. Some are really tall, some are really short. So that kind of general area gets a little bit harder to determine, an exact area based on that.
Is there a way to determine the actual coverage of a tower in present day?
There is.
Can you describe that for the jury?
Yeah, so we have some equipment that we use that was recommended by the phone companies, the same kind of equipment that they use to, find dead spots and other things. So we put this equipment on a vehicle, and then we drive around the area that we're trying to map the coverage area of the tower. It's called the drive test. And that equipment works kind of like a cell phone. It's saying, hey, at this spot where I'm sitting right now, tower number 1 is the strongest, clearest. And then when we go a little bit further, it says, hey, I can no longer have usable coverage from tower number 1. We kind of reached the edge of its limit. So as you drive around, the system is collecting lots of data and actually mapping out what the footprint of a certain tower and sector is on the day that you map it.
And Agent Bernie, is there a time limit for when you are able to conduct a drive test in relation to a specific case?
Yeah, we obviously want to drive test the tower as soon as we can, close to the time of the incident. Because again, things change. We're obviously going through a transition from 4G to 5G, and new antennas could be placed, or antenna sectors could be changed, or change directions of which they are. So we tend to say, a year or so, maybe as much as 18 months, depending upon whether there was a big technology change in that city that we're mapping out.
Agent Bernie, you had touched base some last week on cell phone records and the data they contain. Do you recall that?
I do.
Can you describe for the jury what is a routed call?
Yeah, so a routed call is specific to Sprint network, and a routed call would be a call that comes into your device and then gets routed to voicemail. So let's say there's a couple different ways it can happen. Let's say that your device is on and you just don't hear it ring. I can hear ring, 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 and then eventually it goes to voicemail. So what we can see in the records is it would show, hey, someone called Jay's phone. Jay's phone never answered. And then Jay's phone routed that person to voicemail. So then it showed up in the records as a routed call.
Are you able to map routed calls?
Each provider is a little bit different, but in the Sprint network, routed calls, we do not map their tower and sector activity because we don't know for sure that the device used that tower and that sector at that specific time.
Is there any cell phone providers that use the terminology abnormal calls?
Abnormal completion.
What does that mean?
So that is a term in T-Mobile's network that just means that call got routed in a different way than a normal call would get routed. So an abnormal completion might be, instead of me.
Are they trying to say that, the reason why we don't see these connections is because it was routed weird? Oh God, I hope not. That is so vague and bad. If it happens.
Using tower 1 and then it going to point number 2 and then to my destination. Now I use tower number 1, but instead of point number 2, it routes a call to point number 3 and then a different destination. So depending upon whether those calls are incoming or outgoing as to whether the tower and sector information is valid in those.
Now, Agent Bernie, turning back to this case, what were you requested specifically to do in relation to January 10th, 2015 murder of Donna Thomas?
Yeah, so I was asked to take a look at several phones. We'll show them here in the analysis in a minute. But several phones and their activity roughly around the time of the shooting. So sometimes those are starting in the early morning. Sometimes they're starting in the late afternoons. But basically, to analyze the cell phones activities, the towers and sectors used, and kind of show them on.
Before receiving that request from the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, did you have any information about this case?
No.
Do you personally know any information about the phone records or associated individuals with those records that you plotted?
I do not, no.
I'm going to publish slide 7. Or I'll take one step back, Agent Bernie.
Mango Gelato became a member or resigned as a member. Either way, thank you. Thank you for becoming a member. Now I saw Daily Quick Bites. Nick is lying with Technobabble. The simple answer is you largely don't know where the hell a phone is. And I agree. A phone can be within a slice of the nearest tower, but it can also mean that that specific tower that it pings from is the one with the strongest signal, or that a tower closer were full at the moment, and then it just skips one tower. And to my knowledge, I agree with Daily Quick Bites. You rarely know where a phone is unless you coordinate it with GPS and car data and other things like that.
Slide 6. So can you explain for the jury, using this illustration, when you generate this report, what do all, how are the slides and the calls shown on your report?
Yeah, so for each cell phone tower that's shown on the map, there's going to be one of these boxes. We refer to them as a call-out box, basically. And it's information directly from the call detail records and the tower list provided by the provider. So again, the call detail records is kind of like that phone bill with the tower and sector information. And then the tower list is the information provided by the provider, where the towers are located, and how each sector is located. So what we see on here is, at the top, it says CID. That stands for cell ID. That's that unique tower number, not replicated anywhere else. So in this case, we're looking at a Verizon tower, 392. So again, that specific tower number, and then -3 shows the side of the sector, sector number 3. Underneath that is the date. We see that as January 10th of 2015. And then underneath that is going to be the phone number for the activity on this tower. So in this case, it's going to be the phone number ending in 6080. And then you have the time, that's going to be in local time. So all of it is going to be in Eastern time, local time to the event. It'll say the type of activity, was it an incoming or outgoing call? You see that there. The next number there where it says 270, that shows the side of the tower used and the compass heading of the middle of that side. Meaning we know that it used sector number 3, we see that at the top in the CID box. Well, we can tell based on the tower list that sector number 3, the middle of it points towards 270 degrees. That's where that 270 is. So then we know that if the middle is at 270, we go 60 degrees to the left to about 190, correction 210, and 60 degrees to the right. That gets us to about 330. That gives us that general left and right limit of that sector. The other phone number involved in the phone call will be listed there. In this case, it was a number ending in 2643. And then if there was an associated name given to me by law enforcement as to who was using the 2743, the other number associated, that name will be put in there. So in this case, it's N.Starow. So again, what we can see from the call-out box is we can say, hey, the phone number ending in 6080, the number we're looking at, had an incoming call on January 10th at 7:38 p.m. It used tower 392, sector 3. That sector points towards 270 degrees. We see it there. It came from the tower list. And that incoming call was from a phone number ending in 2643 associated with N.Starow. So all the data that we would need to map all the activity is listed in that call out.
Publishing page 7. So Agent Bernie, can you describe for the jury what were the numbers that you analyzed in relation to cell tower location?
Yeah, so again, this is a list of all the cell phone numbers and associated users that were provided to me by law enforcement for each of the devices. And then you can see the provider for each of those devices listed there as well.
Agent Bernie, I want to ask you before we continue can you describe for the jury what records the FBI CAS team was utilizing in 2015 to analyze historical cell sites?
Yeah, so in 2015, we were using mostly call detail records, again, the CDRs, which is your old school phone bill. And again, that has the tower and the sector for each phone activity. So we can see where the tower was and which side of the tower that was used. There's also additional records that we use nowadays in 2024 to map phone activity. Those records are called timing advance records. Timing advance records are kept by the provider, and they're basically check-ins or network interactions between the phone and the tower, kind of syncing the phone up to the network. And those records, you can provide the tower, the sector side of the tower, and the distance the phone is from the tower. In 2015, there was really only one provider that was providing that information to law enforcement, and that was Verizon. In some instances, Sprint was in 2015 again. The problem with the timing advance records, those records are kept by a very short time by the phone provider. So you can get a call detail records, again, the towers and sectors, for a phone going back a year. 365 days is the shortest time period. But for your timing advance records, the shortest time period is 7 days. So Verizon only keeps timing.
I need to brew myself some coffee before my eyelids shut down permanently. I will be listening, and so will you guys, and I will be back in a couple of minutes.
Advance records, because there's just so much of it for 7 days before it purges it from its network. So in 2015, those were the types of records that were available.
When did the FBI CAS team start utilizing time in advance?
So I came into CAS in 2015. I got certified in 2016, and we were using timing advance in 2016. But again, it's kept for such a very short time period that a lot of law enforcement don't have time by the time they identify a phone number to get those records before the records are purged by the system.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to turn to page 9 of this report. And if you can, there is a old school pointer, wooden pointer behind you, if that will aid you. So, Agent Bernie, was one of the cell phones you were requested to analyze a phone number ending in 5991 associated with a Kenneth Copeland?
It was.
What was the time range that you were requested to analyze for that device associated with Kenneth Copeland?
As you can see, it's listed underneath here. So January 10th, roughly 6:30 a.m. in the morning, up until the next day, January 11th, a couple minutes passing in there.
Agent Bernie, looking at this slide, when it comes up on the screen, can you describe for the jury what these icons are that are red, yellow, and green?
Yes, Your Honor, may I stand?
Yes, you may.
So for each of these map slides, they're going to be oriented the same. So at the top of the slide, we'll see the phone activity. So again, this one lists January 10th, 2015, and it lists the time period. So this is between 6:37 and 7:26 p.m. So 6:37 a.m. to 7:26 p.m. That's what's shown on this slide here. Each slide will have a slightly different time period. The phone number for the activity listed is going to be in that top left-hand corner there. So again, this is a phone number ending in 5991 associated with Mr. Copeland there. The different locations of interest that I was given will also show up on the slide. So here we have the crime scene for this homicide location, again listed as 330 McDaniel Street in Southwest. We see that as a red box with the letter CS that's located there. We have a residence. It's going to be listed as a yellow box with the letters QR listed here. And then a green store with an address of 322 Glen Street Southwest. We see that as a green box with the letter the number 1 listed in there. One thing you also see on this slide is a lot of black dots. Those dots are cell phone towers operated by the network in this case. So in this case, this is a Sprint phone. So each of these black dots are Sprint cell phone towers as they existed in their network on January of 2015.
And Agent Bernie, on this specific slide, what is the time frame for the calls you plotted in relation to the device of Mr. Copeland's?
So again, you can see that at the top, 6:37 a.m. on the 10th to 7:26 p.m. also on the 10th.
Now, Agent Bernie, can you show the jury where and at what time the first call is that's depicted on this slide?
So the first call here is at 6:37 p.m. It's an outgoing call. And you can see it's pointing towards this tower here. Again, we can tell which side or sector of the tower that was used, because this tower has a sector on the north side being used and also on the southwest side. We can tell which sector is used by this number located in here. Again, that's the compass heading, or number of degrees of the sector. So at 6:37 and 21 seconds a.m., which is the first call, it shows there was an outgoing call that used sector oriented toward 330. So again, the north side, 330 degrees up here. The next call, 6:38 and 47 seconds, an outgoing call. Now the phone is using this side of sector here, because we see it went from 330 to 220, which is this side or sector down.
And Agent Bernie, after that 6:38 a.m. call, when is the next call?
So the next call is in this call out box here at the bottom left. It's 1:31 and 41 seconds. And we see the tower and sector used here. Again, that would put the device in this general area here.
And after that 1:31 call, what is the first call and time after that?
So again, same tower, same sector. There's one at 6:20 p.m. down here. Again, using same tower, same sector, puts that device there. There's several 6:20 through about 7:01, all using this same tower, same sector.
And from that specific tower and sector from 1:31 p.m. to 7:01 p.m., how would you describe that device in relation to 178 Maury Avenue, the yellow QR on the screen?
So again, one thing you'll notice here, right, is there's a tower here, there's a tower here, and there's a tower here. We see the sectors are also populated in here. One thing to remember, again, think of that sprinkler head analogy, right? These are 3 sprinkler heads. There's going to be overlap area, probably somewhere in the middle along it. So again, this tower and sector, again, would probably be in this general area, but it could be in an overlap area around here as well.
And Agent Bernie, after that 7:01 p.m. call, what is the next call and tower location?
So the next one here is at 7:24. We can see the tower and sector here. And then right after that is a 7:25, 09, uses this side over here. And then there's a call at 7:24 and 20, or correction, 7:26 and 45 seconds that's now using this side up here.
With that 7:24:09 call, where is that call in relation to 178 Maury Avenue?
Again, in the general vicinity.
And does this slide have a scale on this map?
It does. There should be a scale. It looks like it should be a little bit further down. There's a scale right underneath here.
And using that scale, how far approximately is 178 Maury Avenue to 330 McDaniel Street, the red crime scene icon?
So straight line distance between this and here is approximately 5 kilometers or about 3 miles. Again, straight line distance, a little bit over 3 miles.
Is there any data with the phone associated with Kenneth Copeland that places him in 330 McDaniel Street at 7:22 p.m.?
No, again, we have 7:01 down in here, and then 7:24 in this general area here, 7:25 now this tower, 7:26 now this tower and sector here. So again, if the question was at 7:22, I would say the device was somewhere in this general area down here.
And if there's not a call received or made, are you able to plot the tower location for any phone?
Yeah, so again, for the call detail records in 2015, we're relying solely on activity placed, which are calls and some text messages depending upon the network.
And is there or what is the amount of time between the 7:01:58 p.m. incoming call and the 7:24:09 p.m. call?
Yeah, so those are about 23 minutes. Again, the 7:01 call uses this tower here, 7:24 uses this tower here. Again, approximately 23 minutes between those 2 calls.
And Agent Bernie, I wanted to ask you a question about some of the numbers that are being called on this slide. Do you see any calls to a 4090?
I do.
Can you, do you see any calls to a 7604?
Yes, there are. There's several right here, 7604, 7604, and then there's some over on this side as well.
How many of the calls are between the device associated with Mr. Copeland and the 4090 and 7604 on this slide?
Total combined?
Combined, yes, sir.
Are they trying to prove that again that Woody did the thing? Is that what I heard? Yeah.
11.
And in total, how many total calls are there on this slide?
14.
If you were ever asked or requested or have you ever been asked or requested or conducted who a phone number calls in terms of who physically possesses said device?
I've been asked to put together basically a calling, analysis. So, hey, who's the most called number by this device? And then we look up that device and it's, this individual. And therefore, hey, if that's the most common called by the phone number in question, then, maybe it's someone important to that phone. So yes, we've done some basic toll analysis.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 11. Is this a continuation of the cell tower that we just saw for Mr. Copeland?
Yes, it is.
And on the previous slide, what was the last call time?
On the previous slide, 7:26 and 45 seconds was the last one. And then the next one on this one is 7:28.
Can you describe for the jury where that tower and sector is for this 7:28 phone call?
Yeah, we see it here. Again, it points towards this tower and this sector here. So again, the tower is located right along this I-20 on the south side. It provides coverage in this general area over here.
And where is the device associated with Mr.
Let's break up this riveting, exciting testimony with Young Commune gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. It went to Rebecca Get It and Go, to Kay, to Wilhelmina Hinton, Data Junkie Texas, and Craig Cruden. If I butchered your name, it wasn't intentional. Thank you so much, Young Commune. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's get back to, testimony about cell towers are kind of important. Now it's mostly bull crap, but it's like watching, have you seen Monty Python, the World Cup between philosophers? Yeah, that.
Copeland for that 7:28 call in relation to the green store at 322 Glen Street Southwest?
So again, you see the green store is going to be this green box right here. So that tower and sector is actually the closest tower and sector to the green store there. And it would most likely provide coverage to the green store at that point in time.
With the slide we just discussed with the cell phone activity near Deshaun Quarterman's house, what is the travel from slide 10 to this current slide at the 7:28 call?
So again, the previous call was at 7:26, and that was using this tower here, but again, this side over here. So again, at 7:26, the device is somewhere in this general area, and then we can see at 7:28, so approximately 2 minutes later, the device is in this general area here.
And what is the last 4 of the phone call for that 7:28 call? And is it I'll ask you that first.
Yep, so it's 0102. We see that number listed there.
And is it an incoming or outgoing call?
It's an incoming call to the Copeland device.
Now, after that incoming call from 0102, where is the next call with the device associated with Mr. Copeland?
So we can see the next call is at 7:43 and 29 seconds. We can see the tower here that's used, and again, that sector would provide coverage in this general area here. So now we're looking at the south side of the land.
And after that tower, CID 3152, where does it travel, or what is the next tower the phone utilizes?
Yeah, so then the device travels to this one down here at 7:49. You can see the tower and sector used here. And then there's, I think it's cut off on the Zoom part down here, but there's another tower and sector used at 7:51. That's south of that. So again, basically at 7:28, the device is in this general area, and then it starts to move southbound, ending up down here at 7:51.
And Agent Bernie, for that last tower you were discussing, could you, if you don't mind, use the screen behind you just because I do think it's a little bit cut off.
Yeah, so 751 is this tower in this sector here. So again, this is the 74904 is this same one that's listed right here. And now we can see just underneath that is this one at 751. So again, on the big screen, it would just be located, down here a little bit further.
Now, Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish page 42.
Page 42. Wow. More exciting, John Communion has been a member for 9 months. A full pregnancy. Thank you for your continuous support of this channel, John. I'm deeply, deeply appreciative of it.
Agent Bernie, can you describe for the jury, you see this says 678-278-5991 has one event?
It does, right here. This tower right here.
And is that the same call we were just discussing?
It was. You can see it as 75136.
And what is that orange M icon on this slide?
So that orange icon there is a location of the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue Southwest, Atlanta.
So when that 751 call was made, where was the device associated with Kenneth Copeland in relation to the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue?
So again, it's in this general area here. It's within the tower sector that would provide coverage to the McDonald's.
Going back, Agent Bernie, to the slide we were just discussing, and while I'm pulling that up, how do the icons get populated on your report?
Yeah, so locations are provided to me, either a street address or a latitude, longitude. Those go into our mapping software, and then we put them on the map. And we can basically show which icons on the maps we want to show and which ones we do not, based on the time. So that way, if we, in this case, obviously I was asked to look at this incident, but several others. So there were dozens of icons. So if I kept them all on the map, it would get kind of confusing as to what's relevant and what's not. So we're able to toggle off ones that are not relevant during this time period.
So to be clear, Agent Bernie, that on this slide, page 11, that 751 call, although there's not a orange M icon, that is the call that's in the general area of the McDonald's?
Correct. Yeah, the McDonald's icon, if it was on there, would show up right here, basically near the intersection of these two roads right there.
So, Agent Bernie, what is the last four of the call that the device associated with Mr. Copeland makes at that 7:51 p.m. call?
The last four are 0102.
Now, I'm going to publish slide 12. What is the time frame for slide 12?
We can see it at the top, 8:22 p.m. to 10:41 p.m.
And Agent Bernie, when is the first call depicted on this slide after the 7:51 p.m. we just saw?
So we can see this as 8:22 p.m. We see the tower and the sector right here. So again, here's I-20, and this is 75, 85. So again, in this general area.
Agent Bernie, how much time, what is the amount of time between 7:51 call and this 8:22 p.m. call?
Approximately 30 minutes.
And does this map before us have a scale?
It does.
Roughly how far is the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue Southwest to the teal icon of 1080 West Peachtree indicated as Williams condo?
Just give me 1 second. So straight line distance is about 8 or 9 kilometers from the M here to this WC here, which again stands for the Williams condo. So approximately 9 kilometers, which maybe 4 miles and some change.
And is there any major highway between 150 Cleveland Avenue and 1080 West Peachtree Street Northwest that's depicted on this slide?
There is. You can see here is the 85 down here, 75, 85 kind of interstate.
Can you show the jury the tower and sector for this 8:22 p.m. call from the device associated with Mr. Copeland?
Again, it's using this device here. It's using this tower, I'm sorry, right here, in this general area.
And Agent Burney, with the gap of time we just discussed, if the device was traveled from the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue to 1080 West Peachtree Street, and then has that call at 8:22 p.m., how would you, what are your, how would you, is that possible?
Possible? This is something I really, really despise when it comes to prosecutors, when they know they have. I don't doubt this expert knows what he's doing. I do know that Mr. What's his face again? Well, I don't care. This particular prosecutor. It's so extremely leading. It's ridiculous. It should be short questions and then the expert explains. So this is so ridiculous.
Are you asking is it possible from the 751 to get from the McDonald's to here and then here at 8:22?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, I would say it's probably possible. I think 751, again, there's 30 minutes. This is approximately, we're gonna say 4, almost 5 miles there. So yeah, I think in that time period, you could potentially get from here to there to back into this general area here.
And how far approximately is that tower location at the 8:22 p.m. call to 1080 West Peachtree Street?
Maybe 4 kilometers, so under 2 miles, probably from here to, this general area here, under 2 miles. Again, estimate.
And Agent Burney, do you see on this slide the numbers we had discussed earlier, 4090, that end in 4090 and or 7604?
I do.
And how many times do those two numbers appear in the device associated with Copeland's phone in this time frame depicted on the screen?
7.
And Agent Burney, do you see, or I'll ask you this, the call we were just discussing, the 8:22 p.m. call, what is the last 4 and who is that call associated with?
So again, we see that call right here, the 8:22. It's an outgoing call from the Copeland device.
I don't mean to spoil it, but I think I found RICO.
No RICO. Oh, RICO, look at that spin kick. As Billy.
Yep, found RICO. And he was told to suck my.
This phone number here, 404-662-8935.
And Agent Burney, there's a lot of numbers. The page 7 of this report, can you reference page 7 that has and I'm going to ask you if that 8935 appears on that page?
It does.
Who is the device ending in 8935 associated with?
Mr. Sledge.
And Agent Burney, do you see any other calls after that 8:22 p.m. call between the device associated with Mr. Copeland and the device associated with Mr. Sledge?
I do.
Can you tell the jury where those calls are depicted in the time?
Yeah, so we see those as 8:39 p.m. here, and then using this tower and specifically this side or sector here. And then at 9:02 there's another call, and now it's using this tower and sector over.
And Agent Burney, do you see any calls to 5726, a phone number ending in 5726?
I do.
And I'm going to ask you to utilize the phone numbers on page 7 to see if 5726 is a number associated with a person.
5726, yes it is.
Who is that associated with?
Mr. Zachary?
And Agent Burney, of the towers on this slide, is there any that are in the general area of Deshaun Quarterman's residence?
Is that the
QR yellow
QR
icon.
down here? So again, this tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area here, and we see calls using that at 9:23. And this tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area, probably not directly at the Quarterman residence, but in the general area here. Again, that's at 8:31.
Agent Burney, what is the last call depicted on this slide? And can you show the jury where that tower and sector is located?
Yeah, so the last call is at 10:41, an incoming call here. You can see the tower and the sector. Again, puts the device now kind of north and west of Atlanta in this general area.
Agent Burney, I am publishing slide 13. What is the time frame depicted on this slide?
So we can see at the top, this starts at January 10th at 11:06 p.m. and goes into the 11th at 12:07 a.m.
And Agent Burney, can you walk the jury through, with the towers depicted, the movement or travel of the device associated with Mr. Copeland in this window of time?
Yes, so the first activity is at 11:06. We see the tower and sector here. Again, that would put that kind of in the downtown Atlanta area. The next call and sector we have, or tower sector we have, is up here near the Williams condo location. That's at 11:14 and 11:17. Then we see the device now is moved again southbound, 11:24 p.m. We see the tower and sector that's used here. And then the last tower and sector we have is this tower here. It uses both the north side and the south side, approximately 11:44 p.m. till the last call of 12:07, which you guys can see here. So again, in this general area here, 11:44 to 12:07 a.m.
And Agent Burney, the tower at the top, CID 3102, is there 2 calls, the first being at 11:14 p.m.?
There is.
And where is given that tower location, where is that tower in relation to 1080 West Peachtree, labeled as Williams condo on this slide?
Yeah, so again, you can see the Williams condo with the address. It's square right here with the WC in it. Again, this is the closest tower and sector in that area.
And Agent Burney, do you see any communication between the device associated with Copeland and the device associated with either Mr. Sledge or Mr. Zachary on this slide?
I do.
And how many times from this window of 11:06 p.m. to 12:07 a.m. does the device associated with Mr. Copeland have some communication with the device associated with Mr. Sledge or Mr. Zachary?
Approximately 7 times.
Agent Burney, I am publishing page 14. Were you ever asked to analyze a 6080 associated with a demise McMullen?
I was.
What was the time frame you were requested to analyze for the phone associated with Mr. McMullen?
You can see it listed here, January 10th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
Publishing slide 15. Now, Agent Burney, do you recall when you were here last, we had the toll analysis board?
I do.
This call, what is the first call on slide 15 for the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
The first call here is at 7:29. You can see that outgoing call placed there. Again, you can see the tower and sector that was used for that event.
And is that the first call we had discussed when we were referencing the boards?
It was.
When that 7:29 call, was it incoming or outgoing?
It's an outgoing call.
And when the outgoing call from the device associated with Mr. McMullen, whose device associated did he call?
So as you can see here, it's an outgoing call to 3904, device associated with Mr. West.
And when that call was made, where was the device associated with Mr. McMullen in relation to 1080 West Peachtree Street associated with as Williams condo?
Yep, so you can see the Williams condo there. Again, you can see the tower and sector there. It's in close proximity. Again, that tower and sector would be in the potential coverage area for that condo.
And is there two either calls or attempted calls after that 7:29 p.m. depicted on this slide?
There are.
Can you describe for the jury where they are and whose associated device was they were to?
Yep, so we see them here, 729 is the first one, and then there's 730 and 731 and 731, both two outgoing calls. One thing you'll notice, these are Verizon records. We can tell based on the red boxes here, red is associated with Verizon in our system. One thing you'll notice is the seconds. All these show 00. The records sent by Verizon only had the hour and minute. So again, no seconds recorded in their records. So these calls weren't placed at the exact same second, but they were placed in the same minute, 7:31. My system just shows seconds on it. I just realized that in this time period in 2015, the Verizon seconds are all going to show 00. So we have, during the minute of 7:31, we have two attempted outgoing calls placed by this device associated with Mr. McMullen, and both of those go to a device ending in 8008, Mr. Bradford, associated with Mr. Bradford.
And Agent Bernie, are those three calls that we just discussed, are they all the same tower and sector location?
They are.
Now, after that 7:31 call to the device associated with Mr. Bradford, where is the next tower?
So again, we have this one here at 7:31, tower and sector here, again, this general area. The next one here is at 7:38, and here's the general area of that device there. So it's moved from this spot southbound.
And that 7:38 call, is that outgoing or incoming?
Incoming call.
And is that incoming call associated with any person you were asked to analyze?
It is Mr. Treadwell.
After that 7:38 call from Mr. Treadwell, where does the device associated with Mr. McMullen go next?
Yeah, so 7:38, then it uses this tower down here at 7:39, and then eventually this tower down here at 7:50.
And Agent Bernie, who is the 7:39 call associated with?
7:39 call, again, which uses this tower and sector here, you can see is associated with also Mr. Treadwell.
And what is the last four of the number? Well, I'll get to that in a second. Where is the call? Where's the next tower and location after that call?
The next tower and sector is down here at 7:50.
And who is that call at 7:52?
It's an outgoing call, again, to the device associated to Mr. Treadwell.
And Agent Bernie, what is this blue, dark blue icon associated address, 35 Oak Drive Southwest? How is that depicted on the slide?
Yeah, so again, this was another address I was just asked to place on the slides, associated address. We can see it as a blue square with the number 2 in there.
And Agent Bernie, with the 7:50 outgoing call to the device associated with Mr. Treadwell, where is the phone associated with Mr. McMullen in relation to 35 Oak Drive Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, so that 7:50 call here, again, we see the tower and the sector. The address, the associated address would be in the footprint of that tower.
And Agent Bernie, does this map have a scale?
It does. You can see it at the bottom down here.
How close approximately is the blue icon for 35 Oak Drive Southwest and the orange M for the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue Southwest?
So between these 2 points here, approximately a mile straight line distance.
Is there any gaps between the phone calls we just discussed, starting with 7:38 p.m. or 7:39 p.m. and 7:50?
No, there's no other activity during that time period.
And Agent Bernie, after that 7:50 outgoing call, at the bottom of the screen, where does the device associated with Mr. McMullen travel next?
So next is another call at 7:53. We see the tower and sector used, again, going to be in this general area here.
And where does it travel next?
The next activity is at 7:59, and we see the tower and sector used here. Now it's, again, here's that I-20/85 interchange. It's north and east up in this area.
So in general, Agent Bernie, from that call at 7:29 p.m. till the last call depicted on this slide at 7:59 p.m., what is the general direction of travel for the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
So the device has activity in this general area the last time at 7:31. We then see the device travel southbound, eventually using this tower and sector here in close proximity to this associated address number 2 at 7:50. And then shortly thereafter, we see the device start moving northbound again. And this slide ends at 7:59. We can see the tower and sector used there again, just north of that I-20/85 interchange.
And Agent Bernie, the two numbers on this slide that end in 0102 that don't have a name associated with it, do you see those?
I do.
Is that or is that not the same phone number that the device we looked at of Mr. Copeland interacted with when at 7:51 p.m.?
It is the same phone number, yes.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 16. What is the first call on this slide?
So again, this is a review period between 8:01 and 8:30 p.m. still on the 10th. The first activity we have is at 8:21. You see it there. It's an outgoing call to the device associated with Mr. Treadwell. You see the tower and sector of that device used right there.
And for that 8:21 outgoing call to the device associated with Kevin Treadwell, where is the device associated with Mr. McMullen in relation to 1080 West Peachtree Street Northwest?
Again, you can see the towers and sectors used. I would say that tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area here that would also include the Williams condo.
So between the first call we looked at 7:29 p.m. to this 8:21 p.m. call, what is the general movement of the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
Yeah, so it departed, again, the area around the Williams condo, 7:31, went south near that associated address number 2 at 7:50 p.m. had an activity down there, and then moved back north, eventually arriving in the area around the Williams condo at 8:21, having activity in that area around 8:21.
Agent Bernie, I am publishing slide 17. Were you ever asked to analyze a phone number ending in 3145 associated with a Justin Cobb?
I was.
What was the time frame you were asked to analyze that phone number?
Again, I looked at between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. on the 10th.
Agent Bernie, can you indicate for the jury and show them where the first call, the time and tower and sector for the first call from this phone?
Yeah, so again, looked at 6:30 to 8:30. The thing to remember is, again, we can only see towers and sectors associated with activity. So this device during that time period only had 2 activities. The first of which is at 7:31 and 37 seconds. And we see that's an outgoing call. And we see the tower and sector used, again, would be one in close proximity to the Williams condo on West Peachtree Street.
And Agent Bernie, I'm republishing slide 15. Where is the device associated with Justin Cobb at 7:31 p.m. in relation to the device associated with Mr. McMullen at 7:31 p.m.?
Yeah, so those devices, again, are in the same general area. Obviously, with call detail records, we can't say specifically where a device is, but we can say a general area based on the towers. And both of those devices, again, would be in the general area around the Williams condo at 7:31.
And Agent Bernie, is the calls from the device associated with Mr. McMullen and the calls associated with the device of Justin Cobb, are they calling the same number or receiving calls from the same number?
They are.
And who is associated with that number?
That's a device associated with Mr. Bradford. You can see it right there.
Republishing slide 18. Agent Bernie, how long a gap in time is there between the 7:31 p.m. outgoing call to the device associated with Mr. Bradford and the next call depicted on the slide?
Yeah, so the next call, it's hard to see on the Zoom down there, but it's down here. You can see on the bottom of the slide at 8:29 p.m. So again, 7:31 to 8:29, just under an hour.
Publishing slide 19, were you ever asked to analyze the phone ending in 8935 associated with an N.Starow Sledge?
I was.
And what was the time frame you were asked to analyze that phone?
Again, reviewed roughly the same time. This is 6:20 to 8:22 on the 10th.
Publishing slide 20, what is the time and location of this call depicted on slide 20?
So again, the only activity during this time period for this device associated with Mr. Sledge is at 6:20 p.m. on the 10th, and we can see the tower and sector. Again, that puts that device somewhere in this general area here.
And who is the outgoing call at 6:20? Is it to any other phone number that you were asked to analyze?
It's associated to Mr. Zachary.
Publishing slide 21. Agent Bernie, can you explain this single tower, but what's depicted there from 7:55 to 8:22 p.m.?
I have nothing to say. It's dull, and basically it's there to bore the jury to death. And I assume they're trying to prove that Woody couldn't be the killer, which is quite remarkable because aren't they supposed to prove who did it, not who didn't do it?
Yep. So again, activity of the same device ending in 8935 associated with Mr. Sledge, 7:55, 8:22 p.m. We can see the tower here, and it actually used two different sectors. One we see is associated with 30, and one says -1. The -1 there just shows that the tower list didn't specifically have the sector orientation. I had to go back and verify that with the provider themselves. So in this case, this is an AT&T device. So AT&T provided that the azimuth for what's listed here as -1 is actually 90 degrees. So what we see is, again, tower and sector activity between 7:55 and 8:22 puts the device in this general area here as it used, two sides of the same tower.
And Agent Bernie, in this window from 7:55 to 8:22 p.m. depicted on slide 21, is there any communication between the device associated with Mr. Sledge and the device associated with Mr. Zachary?
There is.
Can you show the jury the time of those communications?
Yeah, so the Mr. Zachary associated device is the 5726 last four. So we see one at 7:55, and then we see one again at 7:56. Both outgoing calls.
Agent Bernie, who is associated with the phone number ending in 5991?
That device is associated to Mr. Copeland.
And is there a call between the device of Mr. Sledge and the device of Mr. Copeland depicted on this slide?
There is 8:22 p.m. an incoming call to Mr. Sledge's device from Mr. Copeland's device.
Agent Bernie, I'm publishing slide 22. Were you ever asked to analyze a phone number associated with Mr. Bradford ending in 8008?
I was.
What was the time frame you were asked to analyze that device?
Again, we have 6:36 p.m. to 8:27 p.m., both on the 10th.
Publishing slide 23. Agent Bernie, can you walk the jury through the movement of the device associated with Mr. Bradford with the towers depicted from 6:36 p.m. to 7:19 p.m.?
Again, so again, this slide, January 10th, 6:36 to 7:19 p.m. Again, location of interest was the crime scene at 330 McDaniel Street. See that as the red box there. The first call during this time period is this one down here. It's hard to see, but it says 6:36 p.m. We see the device is in this general area. 6:38, the device is now using this tower and sector here, has moved northbound. And then at 6:52, we see the device now using this tower and sector here, uses that at 6:52. 6:56, now we're using this tower and sector here, and then eventually it bounces back to this one here at 7:12, 7:14, and 7:19.
Now, Agent Bernie, from that first call at 6:36 p.m., in what appears to be Peoplestown from the map. Do you see that?
I do.
When does the device associated with Bradford or the travel from that Peoplestown tower till the last call at 7:19 p.m., how is that movement in relation to the crime scene at 330 McDaniel Street?
Yeah, so the initial call, 6:36, again, down here in the south side of the slide, moves up to the I-2085 interchange area, and then it moves westbound, first having an activity in this general area here at 6:52, and then again, it uses this tower, bounces to this tower, bounces back to this tower again. Again, think of the sprinkler system, right? There's gonna be some overlap between the two. We have this tower initially, then we bounce to this one, then we bounce back, which means that there's probably in some of the overlap between this tower and this tower here. And then eventually 7:19 is the last call mapped on this slide.
So Agent Bernie, to be clear, between 6:52 p.m. and 7:19 p.m. is the device associated with Mr. Bradford in the general area of 330 McDaniel Street.
Yes, again, I can't specifically say it, but I would say it's in the overlap between those two, and that overlap would be, again, in this general area here.
Publishing slide 24. When is the next call after the 7:19 p.m. call?
The next activity is at 7:24, and we can see the device has moved again from where it was up in the vicinity of the crime scene. Now it's moved south and east over here at 7:24.
And Agent Bernie, do you remember when you testified first, we published two Yankee, which was a CAD report?
Yes.
How long after that 911 call was received is this call at 7:24 p.m. depicted at the top of this slide?
I think approximately 2 minutes.
And after that call, Agent Bernie, where does the device associated with Bradford travel?
So it goes from this area here to, again, this area down here. It's hard to see. We'll jump to this screen here, but it's in the vicinity of that associated address number 2. It gets down there approximately 7:31 and has some activity in that area until 8:08.
And Your Honor, maybe take a brief.
Sure, let's
comfort
take
break.
our morning break.
Oh, thank you. But, yeah, please let it be some 403 motion.
Your Honor, I didn't want. Thank you, Your Honor. I didn't want to trip over this cord. My computer died. There's a
Yeah,
delay, so
no problem.
thank you.
I'll be in recess, Your Honor.
Yes, let's take 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay. Oddly enough, we caught up. This kind of testimony, I don't care who it is, how good that person is at cell tower thingies. Make it interesting. Make it interesting. Explain what is triangulation applicable in this case? Yes, no. Stuff like that. Short answers. Only elaborate when needed. And for the love of all that's holy, Mr. Prosecutor, whose name I keep forgetting because I don't care enough, ask questions so a layman can follow. Because everybody in the jury is bus stop people. Oh yeah, Atkins, Batkiss, Bat Toy, whatever his name is. An expert and a prosecutor, when trying a case, is there to make it more understandable for a layperson, not less. They are supposed to excuse my French, dumb it down. And now I can somewhat follow, but I'm bored out of my skull. And I'm so thankful to you guys in the chat who actually knows this stuff so you can explain it to people, because I barely understand what's going on. So how am I supposed to explain to you guys? All we need to know about cell towers are, ironically, Fani Willis was correct when she said it's not reliable, when she explained that during her disqualification hearing, that no, you can't, those cell tower data can't show that Mr. Wade went home to my place to do the doinky doinky doink, just because it shows his phone directly after me calling him started moving towards my address and pinged off a tower and then stopped pinging for 4 or 5 hours and then started pinging again driving back. Yeah, we all know. Now we do. When you were caught lying, Miss Willis. But when it comes to Mr. Woody's movement the night of the murder, he had more than one phone. And we know somewhat where he was at certain times. So if those doesn't correlate enough, and still pinging from, can I draw something? No, but I will. Do I have something to draw on? No. Do I have something to show? Okay, let's try this. Imagine this here is a cell tower. Here, this one is a cell tower. But also, this is a cell tower. That is, hold on. Dun, dun, dun. Let's say this is one cell tower, and this is also a cell tower, that beer bottle. Now here comes Mr.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching our coverage of the Young Thug trial. Now I want
Here comes Mr. Moonshine from that direction. He pings from that tower and he calls, let's say Moonshine here is Mr. Wade. And Mr. Wade connects with that tower and it keeps being connected to that tower because that tower over there is busy. So he keeps getting pinged to that tower all the way to the next tower, which is way over there. That is how you get these sudden burst of extreme speed, where a phone travels 30% of the speed of light, because while going from over there, Mr. Moonshine Wade, pinging from that tower, and that tower there is busy, and way over there, near Habanero Sauce Willis, way over there. So at some points it shows, oh, he's traveling 500,000 miles an hour. Well, that is because, according to that tower, you are within that point of view, while you actually are way over here, and not until, okay, now it's 2 weeks over there, so now it's picking up from over there, and all of a sudden you made a time jump. And that is why cell tower is so unreliable, because it shows you are within a vicinity when you really aren't. It's like, it's more guesswork than anything else. I hope that brings some clarity. Where at Skillet Pen says radio triangulation versus cell mobile triangulation is just different because the mobile and tower chat to each other and you get more data. Yeah. But it's still not reliable because that area is so vast. And if the next tower doesn't pick you up, then the next one might do. And all of a sudden, that area is all that big. Do I make sense? I try to bring in alcohol because that usually makes sense. So that was my... You guys who are phone thingy good at that, you let me know if I was somewhat correct. What area are they talking about? Town or city or rural area? One of the densest populated places in Atlanta. There must be dozens of cell towers in that area. It has to be. Still not back. I was a few minutes behind, but I have no... I heard footsteps. Mr. Jingles. Gibbon. Maybe I'm trying to get him here. Mildly annoyed. Oh, there he's down there. Okay, come on. Hey, it's Mr. Jingles, folks. Folks, this is Mr. Jingles. He is our leader. He is the unanimous voted from me of being the leader of the Mr. Jingles Viking Thugs. And Mr. Jingles Viking Thugs is not a criminal enterprise. It is a very friendly enterprise where we do not take responsibility for what other people say or do. We are a sister organization to Catnot Williams gang. Oh, thank you. Showing your behind to the audience. Oh, there you are again. Hello, Mr. Jingles. Hello. Oh, scratchy. You're not a dog, but scratchy. Oh, look at him. Linda Bönström asks, is this the phones they thought could be in the same car? I have no idea. And even that, phones traveling in the same car can be picked up by different cell towers. It's a possibility. Now, the possibility is a bit weak, but it's still a possibility. Are you doing this slat sign, Mr. Jingles? Is that what you're doing? Yeah, and Atlanta is... I mean, I went to Atlanta in August, and it's a bit up and down. And a lot of buildings and a lot of obstacles. Even with many towers. I mean, it's just... Hello, mister. Lots of trees in Atlanta. Well, Not where I was, but I was probably more or less. I went from the hotel to the courthouse when I was there. So yeah, I was in the courthouse. Are you washing yourself? Yeah, you do that. I'm having a hard time getting Mr. Jingles up here with a soft cushion. Is so he can really check his surroundings. Hi, Smith Glovers. Hi. Let me check if I got any questions. The telcos all have these QoS maps, and it shows black spots, low quality coverage. So if you wanted to show that, you can. Yeah, but I assume the prosecution has no interest in showing that. Notice the defense is very quiet on the state. The defense knows this has been presented and debunked. Yeah, but cross-examination, I predict, will be very short. I hope they will ask, did you know that Fani Willis said that your science is unreliable? That would be fun. Let's see here. Daily Quick, your explanation was excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I do not claim copyright, so if you want to clip it and use it, as long as you give props. Let's see here. Did they get started earlier? I thought it was in about an hour, but honestly, Bernie was just speed through. They tried to start at 9, but a juror wasn't there, so they started just after 9 a.m. Dun, dun, dun. Anything else? Oh, Kristen Vasquez. Nick, last night the Blackout student did something on Fannie campaign finances. You might find it a bit funny because she is the treasurer. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Fani Willis. I mean, I don't cover it that much, but I do know when she asked for money, extra spending money, and we need to get more money so we can prosecute more people. One of the things she asked for money for, what was it? Well, some building, if I remember correctly from Catnot Williams' coverage of it. 98.5% of that funding is unaccounted for. We're talking about millions here, folks, that are unaccounted for. And then add this scam of a trial on top of that. Okay, I see. Yeah, youth center. Still not open. Thank you, Tetsko. Youth center. Okay, they are back in court. Let's get back to this. Yay. Ooh, I need to get a better banner because Mr. Jingles is covered by Mr. Jingles. Because you see that law and crime banner, yeah, not that much fun. Hold on while I try to correct it. Where are you? There. There. And a bit shorter. Let's see here. Download. Transparent. Let's see here. A bit better. Hey, now you can see Mr. Jingles also. All right, court is back in session. Let's get it on.
Okay, I think we have everybody. All right, let's get the jury back.
I'm trying to expand my inlay here so you can see Mr. Jingles, but he's moving out of picture. Oh yeah, we can listen to Mr. What's his face again? Mr. Dingus? I don't know. And we are caught up. Yay. Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Atkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is republishing slide 24. Agent Bernie, picking up, where does the device associated with Mr. Bradford travel after that 7:24 p.m. call?
Yeah, it's 724. It moves from this general area here southbound and uses a tower and sector here. Again, on this screen, we can see a little bit better. That's in a general area associated with associated address number 2 between 7:31 and 8:08 p.m.
Agent Bernie, within that time frame of 7:31 p.m. to 8:08 p.m., starting at the top, do you see any phone calls with other numbers you analyzed?
I do.
Where are they at the top?
Yep. So the first one is that we see is this Justin Cobb, an incoming call to the Bradford device, 7:31 and 50 seconds. And then the next one down is a incoming call at 7:31 and 53 seconds to the McMullen device.
And Agent Bernie, when at that 7:31 call, where is the devices associated with Mr. Cobb and the devices associated with Mr. McMullen on these two 7:31 p.m. calls at that time?
Well, can you repeat that question again?
Yes. Do you see the location here for those 7:31 calls at 7:31 and 50 milliseconds and 7:31 and 53 milliseconds?
Seconds, yes, right here.
I am going to republish slide 15. Do you see on slide 15 that 7:31 p.m. call between the device associated with Mr. Bradford and the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
I do. The McMullen device, 7:31 p.m., again, using a tower and sector in the general vicinity of the Williams condo.
And Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 18. Do you see that call at 7:31 p.m. between the device associated with Mr. Bradford and the device associated with Mr. Cobb?
I do.
And where is the device associated with Mr. Cobb at that point in time?
Again, using a tower and sector in the vicinity of the Williams condo.
Going back to slide 24. Agent Bernie, do you see the call, or do you see that the device associated with Mr. Bradford has a call at 7:47 p.m.?
I do.
And is that in the general area of 35 Oak Drive, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia?
It is.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 15. Do you see a call on slide 15 at 7:50 p.m.?
I do.
And is this 3 minutes after the call that we just discussed with Mr. Bradford?
It is.
And where is the device associated with Mr. McMullen at 7:50 p.m.?
Again, using the tower and sector here in close proximity to the general area associated with associated address number 2.
So is the device associated with Mr. McMullen and the device associated with Mr. Bradford at 7:47 p.m. or 7:50 p.m., where are they in relation to one another?
They're in the same general area around associated address number 2.
Going back to slide 24. After that, or what is the only other tower depicted on slide 24 that is that we have not discussed?
Yeah, there's a tower here at 807 out here that's used for an outgoing call.
Agent Bernie, I'm publishing slide 25. Where is the movement of the device associated with Mr. Bradford between 8:17 and 8:27?
So again, the slide covers that time period, 8:17 to 8:27. We see the tower and sector used, again, put that device in this general area here, 8:17 to 8:23. And then we have activity on this tower and sector over here to the west at 8:27.
Agent Bernie, I am publishing slide 26. Were you ever asked to analyze a phone number ending in 3904 associated with Jeffrey Williams?
I was.
And what was the time frame that you were requested to analyze?
Yeah, so I looked at calls between 7:03 and 8:22 p.m. on the 10th.
Publishing slide 27. Now, Agent Bernie, when is the first call on this slide?
First call is at 7:03. We see the tower and sector here used. And we can see this tower was used at 7:03 to 7:31.
And when is the next, or do you see a call at 7:03:39?
I do.
Is that call at 7:03:39 to any devices you were requested to analyze?
It is. It's to the 1990 device associated with Miss Dolly Group.
And when is the next call after the 7:03:39 call?
7:29 and 30 seconds, an incoming call from the McMullen device. Sorry.
Now, how much of a gap in time is there between 7:03:39 p.m. and 7:29:30 p.m.?
Approximately 26 minutes.
And with the records with the call detail records you had for phone number 3904, were you able to plot any tower locations between that window of time?
No, again, we're dependent upon phone activity, and there were no activity that had towers and sectors during that time period.
Now, after that gap in time, who is the device associated with Jeffrey Williams communicating with, and at what time?
Between the 7:03 and 7:31?
Between 7:03 and 7:29, or at 7:29.
Yep, so you have the 7:03 call again with Dolly Greer, and then a 7:29 incoming call from the McMullen device.
And for all of these calls depicted on this slide, is the device associated with Williams? Where is it in relation to 1080 West Peachtree Street?
Again, we can see the tower and sector that's used here. One thing to note is this is T-Mobile, right? All the green dots. There's a lot more green dots than in some of the other providers, right? So T-Mobile loves putting lots of smaller towers in there, and some of which are taller towers. I obviously didn't look up every tower in here, but I did look up the tower that was used here at 7:03 to 7:31. And this is a very large tower. It's about 156 feet, I think, in height. So again, that would, again, put that phone in this general area here.
In this general area. Yeah, in that general area. That general area on that map, how many city blocks are that? 5? 10? More?
And Agent Bernie, where is the device associated with Mr. McMullen located at when this 7:29 p.m. call is made?
So it's also in the same general area here. Obviously, it's a different provider. The McMullen device is a Verizon, and we saw in the previous slide, I think it used like a tower located right here. There's a Verizon tower that would have put the device again in the general area of the Williams condo. So these two devices are in the same general area.
And Agent Bernie, looking at your slide 7 with the phone numbers analyzed, who was the phone number ending in 9596 associated with?
Miss Dora Greer.
And so this last call on slide 27, is that the same number, 9596?
It is.
Although it has Jeffrey Williams listed there, is the associations provided to you by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for this case associate that number with Dora Greer?
It does. Yeah. So when I originally put in all the phone numbers and associated names provided to me by law enforcement, we went off of the subscriber's name, which was in Williams. But then afterwards, it was identified that that number was being utilized by Ms. Dora Greer. However, my system just shows, again, that it's Williams, but know that the 9596 is actually associated to Ms. Dora Greer.
Agent Bernie, I am publishing slide 28. So
Again, I wish I could make this more interesting, but I'm good. Not that good. And I can just pause and almost apologize for not adding things. But this Borefest, I mean, I've been to seminars where some other dude who thought very highly of himself in a very monotone voice explained the new changes in labor law. Now, I work in labor law, so yes, I could follow that. This guy is equally boring, and I'm not a cell tower tech.
After that 7:29 p.m. call we just discussed on the slide before, where does the device associated with Jeffrey Williams travel?
Yeah, so the next activity is 7:33. We see it down here, but kind of cuts off some of the bottom. So at 7:33, there's an outgoing call to the Treadwell device. Again, the device associated with Mr. Williams is in the general area of the associated address, number 2.
Now, Agent Bernie, going back to slide 27, do you see the 7:31 p.m. call we just discussed?
I do.
Now, publishing slide 28, can you explain for the jury, does that tower at 7:33, how long after is that call?
Approximately 2 minutes.
Is that a small, average, or large distance to travel in 2 minutes?
That's a large distance.
Can you explain for the jury some, what do you make of that, or how do you explain that?
Yeah, so again, between this tower and the tower used on the previous slide, I think it's about 7 to 8 kilometers. Again, that's about 4.5, 5 miles approximate. Don't hold me to the map there. And that's about 2 minutes in between those two calls. In discussing this with T-Mobile folks and other folks within our industry, if you go back to page 27, what we believe happened is
I'll propose an objection to confrontation clause.
Response?
Your Honor, I need to approach to appropriately respond, but it'll be brief.
It's a sidebar. It is sidebar counter 290. Mr. Jingles, did you hear? It was, yeah, you don't care either. 290. Oh. As my dear old grandmas used to say, if you can't do anything about it, you might as well laugh at it. My grandmother, she was a lot, but don't speak ill of the dead and don't speak ill of your relatives unless they're crap. Then go right ahead. But my grandmother was so sweet. She learned that. Well, she thought she learned that if you stop smoking, you gain weight. Now, my grandma was 50 something at the time, and she was spherical to the point where she could. My dad used to joke that you can at least you can't fall down anymore because a ball does not fall. Now so at age 54, learning or something of the sort, learning that if you stop smoking, you gain weight. Then naturally, if you start smoking, you should lose weight. That didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. So she was both spherical and out of breath a lot, because at age 50 plus she started smoking because she thought she would lose weight. Oh, I loved my grandma. She taught me the best cure against cough ever. You take a tablespoon of fish liver oil, and then you take another, and then you're too afraid to cough, because if you do, you crap your pants. Yeah, my sweet grandma.
Worse dinner sitting.
Oh, they are back. They are back. Let's return to trial. Okay. Yeah, even Mr. Jingles got bored after a while.
Agent Bernie, you,
Okay. If,
Have you worked-
Dinner sitting, if you're not using that, you feel free to sit.
Agent Bernie, have you worked with records from cell phone providers?
Oh, they were in the middle of explaining something, went up to talk to the judge, and then all of a sudden he changed the subject.
That are from the years 2015 or older?
I have.
And when specifically related to towers, have you ever heard of the phrase camping on a tower?
I have.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so again, hearsay as well.
Overruled.
You may answer, Agent Bernie.
Okay. So again, in the network, when your phone is on, it's scanning the environment, and then the phone picks the tower and sector with the best signal. Sometimes that device will finish a call and just go exactly to the next call, or maybe you ended a call because there was an incoming call and a tower and sector was already assigned and being used by the device. And that device then continues to use that tower and sector. That would be a term of an example of the tower camping or holding on to a tower a little bit past its normal range.
And Agent Bernie, that phenomenon, camping with cell phone towers, how has that changed from 2015 to 2024?
Yeah, 2015, you got to remember that's almost 10 years ago. The technology has obviously advanced. There's more towers. The processing and speed rate of our communication is significantly faster than it was, 9 years ago.
So you're saying that when Nathan Wade traveled all across town to do the boinky boink with Miss Willis, they were more accurate than they were 7-8 years prior. And Miss Willis still says that cell tower data is unreliable, even though this was just a couple of years ago. Isn't that strange?
So we see less of it now in 2024 than we did in 2019 and earlier.
And Agent Bernie, without stating or relying on any conversation with T-Mobile, based on your training and experience, what is one or what is an explanation for the movement between 731 and 733 on these slides we've just discussed?
Your Honor, I'm going to pose the same objection. I don't believe that foundation is complete.
Well, we'll see whether he can answer it that way, but given the way the question is phrased, I would overrule that objection.
You may answer, Agent Bernie.
Yes, so what we see when we look at page 27, we see an incoming call at 7:29 and 30 seconds. And then the next is a outgoing call placed at 7:31 and 17 seconds. Those two are in close proximity of times to the, time period that those two calls. So in my expert opinion, I would say that device obviously still shows that tower and sector as the best signal and was in the footprint, meaning usable coverage area of that tower and sector for both of them. It had to happen, otherwise it would have went to another tower and sector. And then we see the next call again is at 7:33, again, maybe between the two towers, a distance of like 4 miles.
Now, Agent Bernie, I'm publishing slide 28. What is the general movement of the device associated with Jeffrey Williams depicted from 7:33 p.m. to 8 p.m.?
May I stand again?
You may, yeah, please feel free to. I just didn't want you to feel like you had to continue to stand.
So again, 7:33, we see the call using this tower and sector in the area associated near the area of the associated address number 2. We have that call at 7:30. $33, 7:43, and one at 7:55.
Yeah. Boomer. What I was saying was, if you check that lower TT diagram there are 1, 2, 3 other cell towers in close proximity. And that blue dot over there, just below the TD diagram, is supposed to be, we're quite sure he's there. Well, no, you're not, because he could be within anywhere of that TD diagram. Anywhere within that TD diagram.
Again, using all the same tower and sector. And then we see the device start to move northbound. 7:58, it uses a tower and sector in this area. And then eventually at 8 o'clock, the device is continuing to move further north. So again, first calls 7:33, last calls start to move in a northbound general area.
How many calls are depicted on this slide between 7:33 and 8 p.m. total that you were able to plot?
5.
How many of those 5 calls are between the device associated with Jeffrey Williams and the device associated with Kevin Treadwell?
3.
How many people were inside Mr. Williams' residence at the moment? And did any one of them use Mr. Williams' phone? We don't know. It's an unknown factor.
Now, Agent Bernie, do you see the call at 7:55 p.m. on this slide?
I do.
And where is the device associated with Jeffrey Williams to the associated address at 35 Oak Drive?
We can see it here. Again, the tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area. So again, I would say the device is in proximity, close proximity to associated address number 2 at 7:55.
And Agent Bernie, I'm going to republish slide 15.
For frick's sake.
Do you see the 7:50 p.m. call on the device associated with Mr. McMullen on slide 15?
I do. It's kind of cut off right here. You can see the tower and sector here. That's for that 7:50 call right there.
And Agent Burney, who is the device associated with Mr. McMullen speaking with at this time?
This is a call again to the device associated with Mr. Treadway.
And is the call we just discussed with Defendant Williams' phone, how much time is apart between those two calls?
So this one's 7:50, and the one associated with Mr. Williams, that call is at 7:55.
And in that time frame, with the call detail records you have, where are the devices associated with McMullen and the devices associated with Defendant Williams in that time frame, 7:50 or 7:55?
Again, the same general area. We see 7:50. Obviously, the device is in this general area, and the same on page 28. You'll see that at 7:55, the Williams device is in the same general area.
And Agent Burney, I'm republishing slide 24. Do you see a 7:47 p.m. call on this slide?
I do. Excuse me.
And for the device associated with Mr. Bradford, where is his device at 7:47 p.m. in relation to the 35 Oak Drive address?
So again, at the 7:47 outgoing call, you can see the tower and sector that's used. Again, putting that device in this general area here, the same general area associated with associated address number 2.
And is that same general area in relation to 35 Oak Drive Southwest? Where is that in relation to the location of Mr. McMullen's, the device associated with Mr. McMullen and the device associated with Defendant Williams we just discussed?
Yeah, again, that's still the same general area here all around the address, the Oak Drive address.
Agent Burney, going back to slide 28, is there any gaps in time from the southbound tower in terms of when calls are made?
Yes, there's a 7:33, and then approximately 10 minutes later, 7:43, and then approximately 12 or 11 minutes later.
Barb K, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to take a break in this. 5 memberships. All right. It was gifted to Tina P, YSL Lola, Timothy Murphy, I Undermeant What You Stood, and Crime Talk TV. Congratulations. You now have access to all my members only content. You'll have access to your members only emojis. And once I get to it, I will post the link to my Discord in the community section on my for my Discord. Yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Thank you so much, Barb K. Thank you so much. And that brings us to 16 new members today. 16. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And just so you know, folks, I'll be streaming until the lunch break. Then I need to do some work. I need to take my afternoon break. And then I will do the rest of the day as a recap at around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just so you know, when I will go to, well, once that happens, I will send you over to Katnott Williams so she can try to entertain you through this testimony too. Oh yeah, I hope the defense is there soon. Very, very soon. But thank you again. Thank you again to Barb K for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you.
You have 7:55.
And is it possible for the device associated with Defendant Williams to have traveled to the McDonald's from the area near the 35 Oak Drive Southwest as depicted on the slide?
Object to speculation, Your Honor.
I can ask additional questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Agent Burney, how far or what is the scale on this map, Agent Bernie?
Yeah, we see the scale at the bottom down here.
And using that scale, how far is the distance between 35 Oaks Drive Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia, and 150 Cleveland Avenue Southwest?
So the distance between this point here at 2 and this point here at M, which is the McDonald's, straight line distance is probably around a mile.
And Agent Bernie, have you driven vehicles before?
I have.
Can you travel 0.8 miles in 10 minutes?
You can.
Objection, 0.8 miles. Well, I'll move on.
All right, overruled.
Agent Bernie. Publishing slide 29. Where is the first call on slide 29?
So again, just a continuation of, again, a phone number associated with the Williams device. We see the first phone call here is at 8 o'clock and 15 seconds. We see that device here, and then the next activity is at 8:22, again, around the area of the Williams condo.
And Agent Bernie, are these two towers, where are they in relation to Highway 85?
Yeah, so Interstate 85 is this yellow road that goes right here. So you can see this tower here, very close to Interstate 85. And then if you look at this second tower over here, it's obviously very close to Interstate 85.
So Agent Bernie, with this call at 8:22 p.m. is the phone associated with Defendant Williams. Where is that in relation to 1080 West Peachtree Street Southwest?
Again, you can see the tower and the sector that's used, and it's in very close proximity to the Williams condo on the West Peachtree Street Northwest.
And Agent Bernie, going to page 27, from this 7:29 p.m. call incoming from the device associated with Mr. McMullen till the 8:22 p.m. call we just discussed, what is the general movement of Defendant Williams' device?
Yeah, so the device obviously starts up here in the area around the Williams condo. It moves southbound, eventually
Want to refill my coffee? I'll be right back.
associated address number 2 at 7:33. Again, there's activity at 7:33, 7:43, and 7:55, and then the device starts to move northbound again, eventually reaching the area around the condo at an activity around 8:22.
And Agent Bernie, with that general route of travel you just described, I am republishing slide 15. How does the travel of device associated with Mr. McMullen between 7:29 p.m. and roughly 8:21 p.m. compare with the movement of the device associated with Defendant Williams in that time frame?
Yeah, they're similar. Obviously they start around the same location, around the same time period. They move to the general area around associated address number 2, around the same time period, or roughly the same time period, and then move back. So again, similar travel patterns.
And Agent Bernie, is the device
Similar. It's like it's like the difference between correlation and causation. With correlation, you can show that ice cream causes drowning. But the causation is it's summer. People bathe and they eat ice cream. If they bathe, they are in a higher risk of course, drowning. So correlation, like he says, similar, means nothing. Absolutely nothing.
in this time window is the devices associated with Mr. McMullen and the devices associated with Defendant Williams, do either, none, or both have communication with the device associated with Kevin Treadwell?
They both do.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 29, or sorry, excuse me, slide 30. Were you ever asked to analyze or plot the device associated with Quindarius Zachary?
I was.
And what was the time frame you were requested to analyze Mr. Zachary's phone?
You see it listed there, 6:53 to about 7:56 p.m. on the 10th.
Publishing slide 31. Agent Bernie, where is the first call on for the device associated with Mr. Zachary in this time frame?
Yep, so the first time is, again, we have this tower and sector used right here at 6:53 p.m. An outgoing call, we see that tower and sector again. We put the device in this general area here. And that's activity between 6:53 and 7:56, with one tower being used here at 7:25.
And so other than that one call at 7:25, does the device associated with Mr. Zachary in this time frame appear to remain in the same general location?
It does, other than the 7:25 call. Yes.
And Agent Bernie, do you see a call at 7:56 p.m.?
I do.
Is the call at 7:56 p.m. incoming or outgoing?
That's an incoming call.
And is it associated with any device you were requested to analyze?
It is. It's associated to the 8935 device associated to Mr. Sledge.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish State's Exhibit, or it's not State's Exhibit, page 32. Were you ever requested to analyze the phone records related to a Kevin Treadwell with a phone number ending in 2643?
I was.
And what was the time frame you were requested to analyze that device?
Again, on the 10th, 6:23 to 8:22 p.m. for this device.
Publishing slide 33. Now, Agent Bernie, where is the first call on this slide?
So the first call on this slide uses this tower here, and it uses the north side of it. Again, we can see based on these numbers here, 0 being the azimuth of north, we know that it used the north side at 6:23.
And Agent Bernie, when does it leave that tower and sector? Where does it travel next after the 6:23 p.m.?
Yeah, so it's on this tower and various sides of that tower till approximately 7:33, and then it uses this tower and one of the sides of this tower at 7:35.
And Agent Bernie, with that 7:33 p.m. call, was that an incoming or outgoing call?
You see the 7:33 right there is an incoming call.
And is it connected with a device you were requested to analyze?
I was, the device ending in 3904.
And after receiving that call at 7:33 p.m. from the device associated with Defendant Williams, where does the phone associated with Mr. Treadwell travel?
So again, it's in this vicinity to start. Now it uses this tower, specifically the north side, because 330 degrees would be this side right here. So at 7:35, it's on this side of that tower. Right?
And is that side of that tower, Agent Bernie, where is that in relation to the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue?
So the McDonald's is located right here. We see that as kind of the yellow or orange M right there. And that tower, specifically that sector, we can see would most likely be in the coverage area. The McDonald's would most likely be in the coverage area of that tower and sector.
And after that 7:33 p.m. incoming call from the phone associated with Defendant Williams, what is the next, or what is the next call?
And so we got the 7:33 over here, again using this tower and sector. Then you have the 7:35 outgoing call using this tower and sector.
And Agent Bernie, in this towers depicted, is the device associated with Kevin Treadwell ever in the general vicinity of the 35 Oak Drive, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia?
It is. That's the blue square right here with the number 2 in it. So anytime the phone uses this sector here or this tower in this sector here, the phone could be, again, in the general area of associated address number 2. So that would be starting at 7:45 right here. It's still using this tower, but we're using the sector that's oriented to 210 degrees, which is this side over here. And then in this box here, it uses this tower and sector, and those calls are from 7:49 until 8:11.
And Agent Bernie, do you see between the 7:33 p.m. call from Defendant Williams, do you see a call after that, or when is the next call after that, if any, that the phone number associated with Mr. McMullen appears?
The next time is at 7:38.
And how far apart time are those two calls?
Well, you got 7:33 to 7:38, so approximately 5 minutes.
And Agent Bernie, do you see the call with tower 1616 depicted in the bottom left at 7:56 p.m.?
I do.
Is that an incoming or outgoing call?
That's an incoming call.
And who is that incoming call? Is it from a phone number you were requested to analyze?
It is 6080 devices.
All right. The prosecution has somewhat divided the witnesses between themselves. It seems like Mr. Butkiss, Adkins, I don't care what his name is handling the boring ones. And Ms. Love is ruining this case by handling some of the important witnesses. And Miss Hilton, yeah, I don't know. So, no, Love hasn't been replaced, but it seems like the plan for Friday, today, maybe tomorrow is just these boring technical experts. Good question. I understand why people wonder.
Associated to Mr. McMullen.
And what is the next call on that tower after that call?
It is 7:58 right here, and that's an incoming call from 3904 device associated to Mr. Williams.
And how much time is between those two calls?
Approximately 8 minutes.
Now, Agent Bernie, zeroing in on that 750 call with the device associated with Kevin Treadwell and the device associated with Demise McMullen. Do you see that?
I do.
And I wanted to publish slide 15. Where is the device associated with Demise McMullen at 7:50 p.m.?
Again, you can see the tower and sector used puts that device in the general area around associated address number 2.
And is those two devices between McMullen, or the devices associated with Mr. McMullen and Mr. Treadwell, have calls between each other on that at that 7:50 time?
They do.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to also publish slide 28. Do you see the 7:55 p.m. call on this slide?
I do.
And for the 3904 associated with Defendant Williams, who is the call at 7:55 between?
That 755 is an outgoing call from the Williams device to phone number ending in 2643, which is the device associated with Treadwell.
And where is the device associated with defendant Williams on that call in relation to the device associated with Mr. Treadwell, the device associated with McMullen around that time?
Yeah, all of those devices, again, are in this general area here around the associated address number 2.
And Agent Burney, between the movements of the device associated with McMullen and the device associated with defendant Williams, does the tower, do the towers utilized in that window of time of roughly 7:29 to 8:22, where are they in relation in general to I-85?
The towers that are utilized are very close to I-85 as they travel. The devices travel from the general vicinity around the Williams condo to the vicinity around the associated address number 2 and then back up.
Publishing Agent Burney slide 34. Were you ever requested to analyze the phone number ending in 9596 associated with Dora Greer?
I was.
And what was the time frame for that?
Again, you can see that here, 6:20 p.m. to 8:11 p.m. on January the 10th.
Agent Burney, can you describe for the jury the general movement of the device associated with Dora Greer in this time frame?
Yeah, so again, 6:20, first activity that we looked at here, again, puts that device north 75 area near Vinings. The device eventually moves southbound and then has activity around the area associated with the Williams condo there. First activity is at 7:37. And then remaining in that area until this slide, the last activity on this slide at 8:11. Again, using towers and sectors in this general area here.
And Agent Burney, does the phone number associated with Dora Greer ending in 9596 have any communication with the device associated with Kevin Treadwell?
It does.
When, can you show for the jury where and when those communications are?
Yeah, so that device, the Treadwell device ending in 2643, are these calls right here, again, at approximately, or at 7:35 and 53 seconds, and then 7:36 and 2 seconds, and then 7:38. So 3 activities.
Agent Burney, publishing slide 36, were you ever requested to analyze the phone records for the device associated with Dolly Greer ending in 1990?
I was.
And what was the time frame for that request?
Again, looking at 6:44 to 8:27 p.m.
Publishing slide 37. Agent Burney, when is the first call on this slide?
So the first call on this slide is at 6:30 right here, is an incoming call. You can see the towers and sectors there.
And can you describe the general movement of the device associated with Dolly Greer between 6:44 p.m. and 7:04 p.m.?
Yep, so at 6:30 and 6:40, we can see the towers and sectors that are used here, 6:43, and then it uses this tower and sector over here, 6:44 to 7 o'clock, and then we see that device use various towers and sectors as it moves northbound Eventually, the last call on here is 7:04, using this tower and sector.
And in this time frame, is there any communication between the device associated with Dolly Greer and the device associated with Dora Greer, ending in 9596?
There is.
Is there any communication with the device associated with defendant Williams, ending in 3904?
There is.
Agent Bernie, publishing slide 38. Where does the device associated with Dolly Greer, can you describe for the jury the movement of that device?
Yeah, so the first activity on that device is at 7:08. Again, we see the tower and sector here, and then that device moves northbound, appears to be, along the 85 corridor there, eventually arriving in the area around the Williams condo at approximately 7:11.
Agent Bernie, publishing slide 39. Now, in addition to specific,
I have a theory of why Miss Love is missing. You tell me if it's a good theory or a bad theory. Here it is. Do you think this is a good theory or bad theory? Yes, my Photoshop skills is amazing. You can almost seamless. Oh.
specific time ranges for individual phone numbers, were you ever asked to analyze activity around specific locations?
I was.
And were you ever asked to analyze the phone activity near 330 McDaniel Street Southwest?
I was.
And what was the time frame you analyzed that?
Yeah, so you can see that here, 6:56 p.m. to 7:28 p.m. on the 10th.
And Agent Bernie,
They are going through every cell phone activity from early afternoon into the night. Oh, for frick's sake. Oh no, this is going to take 2 days to go through.
do you see the 7:28 p.m. call from the device associated with Kenneth Copeland?
I do.
I'm going to publish slide 12. Excuse me, slide 11. Is that call the same, or is this the call at 7:28 in relation to the Green Store?
It is. It's this one right here that we discussed previously, the 7:28. Again, you can see the tower and sector here.
And is that the same call?
It is. It's the exact same call.
And the activity before this, where is the device associated with Kenneth Copeland at 7:24?
Yep. So again, here's that crime scene. We're looking south of that along 85. You have the associated address, Copeland's girlfriend here. The device at 7:24 and 7:25 again puts that device in this general area here, somewhere around the vicinity of that the other additional residence.
The 178.
Cindy went on and on and on. I need the music. Let's see if this gets better with music. Let me check here. Yeah.
Maury Avenue.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So the device associated with Mr. Copeland, is it further or closer from the 178 Maury Avenue address or 330 McDaniel Street at that 7:24 p.m. call?
Yeah, it's significantly closer to the 178 Maury Avenue. Again, the device is going to be in this general area here.
Going back to slide 40. And Agent Bernie, is the device on the left ending in 8008, is that the device associated with Mr. Bradford?
It is.
And are these calls depicted on this slide ones we discussed previously in relation to the device associated with Mr. Bradford?
It is.
And when is the last call that the device associated with Mr. Bradford can be plotted that is near the vicinity of the crime scene?
Again, you see that one here. That's 7:19, an incoming text message.
Publishing slide 41, Agent Bernie, were you also asked to analyze phone activity near the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue?
I was.
And what was the time frame you were requested to analyze phones in relation to that address?
Yeah, you can see that listed here, 7:35 to 8:48 p.m. on the 10th.
So, Agent Bernie, on slide 42, can you walk the jury through what this slide shows?
Yeah, so again, I was asked to take a look at phones near the McDonald's. The McDonald's location is shown here. I looked at any activity with towers and sectors that were in close proximity around that time period. And we see several devices that have that. So we can kind of go through those. The first device is this red device, 6080. That's the device associated to Mr. McMullen. We have this silver device here, ending in 8008. That's the device associated with Mr. Bradford at the top there.
We are live for today because apparently Georgia does not have a bank holiday or holiday on what is it, Columbus Day? Something of the sort. So half of USA is closed, half is not.
This tower and sector here is Sprint Towers. Again, provide coverage in this general area here. And we have the 5626 device associated with Mr. Zachary and the 2643 device.
Hey! Barb K with another 5 memberships. Thank you. Gifted to, hold on, I'll pause that for a while. Gifted to Dizzy Grenade, Morris Shepherd, Haley Wolf, Miss Arlene, and Mac was all gifted memberships by Barb K. Everybody say thank you to Barb K. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now you 5 new people, you also have access to all my members only content, to members only emojis, and to once I get the link into the community section on YouTube, you will have access to my Discord. Thank you, Barb. Thank you so much. And that brings us to 21 new members today. That's a good day. That's a very good day. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's continue.
Located or associated with Mr. Treadwell using this tower and sector here. Then the closest tower and sector to the McDonald's obviously is this one here. We have that 2643 again associated with Mr. Treadwell. There's kind of this purple device having those activities kind of cut off down here. is the 5991 device associated with Mr. Copeland, again using this tower in sector Q.
And Agent Bernie, roughly in the time span of using the time span of 7:45 to 8 o'clock, are the devices associated with Kevin Treadwell, Mr. Copeland, Demise McMullen, where are they in relation to the McDonald's?
Yeah, the McMullen device, that red device here, is using this tower. Again, there's a Verizon tower there, a Verizon tower, and a Verizon tower. Those are the three closest. So we can see, again, that device can be somewhere in this general area. That's at 739 and 753. What was the other devices?
Treadwell, Copeland, and McMullen.
Okay. The Copeland device, we just have one activity during this time period. You can see the tower and sector it uses here. That's at 7:51 p.m. And then the Treadwell device, it uses this tower here and these two sectors here at 7:35, 7:45. And then it also uses this tower out here at 8:32 p.m.
And Agent Bernie, were you ever asked to plot phone activity near Defendant Williams' condo?
I was.
What was the time frame that you plotted phones in relation to that address?
So I looked at devices between 7:31 and 11:22 p.m. On this.
Now, Agent Bernie, can you help unpack this rather busy slide for the jury?
Yeah, so this obviously has a lot of information on here. The biggest thing is just seeing which phones have activity all around the general area of the Williams condo, and that is a significant number of these phones.
And Agent Bernie, is in this time frame from 7:30 to 11:22, is there any devices that are at that location both close to 7:31 and also close to 11:22 in general?
Yeah, I mean, we see this, the red device associated with McMullen has 7:31 and 11:22. There's 6 activities that use this tower and specifically this sector during that time period. It also uses this tower and sector once. There's another one down here that has 2 outgoing and 1 incoming call using this tower and sector there. Let me just quick look at some other ones. You have the 3904 number associated with Mr. Williams. It uses this tower and sector up here at 8:22 through 10:57 for 5 different activities. It also uses this tower and sector here at 9:08 to 10:42 for 2 activities. And I believe that's it.
And Agent Bernie, were you ever asked to analyze any out-of-state movement in relation to this case?
I was.
I'm publishing slide 45. What did you analyze in relation to that?
I was just asked to take a look at, did any of these devices leave the Atlanta, Georgia area and travel to Miami on the next day, which was January 11th, 2015.
Publishing slide 46. Can you describe for the jury what this slide shows? in relation to the device associated with Mr. McMullen.
Yeah, so again, you'll see the devices associated with in the top left-hand corner. This one's the 68 associated to Mr. McMullen. And then I looked at, hey, when did the device approximately leave the Atlanta area, and did it travel southbound? So this device, has activity in the Atlanta area on the 10th at approximately 11 p.m. And then I looked at, hey, when did it arrive approximately in the Miami area? So I reviewed activity.
I can't overdo the playing of Carnival song. What else do I have here? Well, I have my sound effect from whenever Miss Love speaks.
You stupid woman. You stupid woman.
But I don't think that's appropriate here. But we are really close to lunch.
Till 2 p.m. the next day on the 11th. And what you see here is, these dots are different towers used by the device as it trends.
Oh, without noticing, we are 11 minutes behind. I'm going to play this in 1.25.
As it made its trip from Atlanta to Miami. So the dots in this case are phone activities, either calls or text messages. This is a Verizon device, so these are just calls. And then I just put in some of the times of those to kind of get us a gauge at approximately how fast was the device moving and approximately when did it arrive, over into the Florida area. So this device, again, activity 11 p.m. up in Atlanta. At 4 a.m., we see it's near Macon, Georgia. 7 a.m. on the 11th, it's getting near the Florida-Georgia line. And then eventually it has some activity down in Miami at 1:25 p.m. And one thing you can't see on that slide is cut off on the bottom is, obviously I compared all the devices and their activity to see if did some travel separately on different days or times, and which one had similar travel patterns. And so the devices of McMullen, associated with McMullen, Williams, Dolly Greer, and Dora Greer, all have very close activity along the same time periods in the areas I looked at, which are like Macon, Georgia, the Florida-Georgia line, and then arriving in Miami.
Agent Bernie, publishing slide 47. What does this slide show in regards to movement of the device associated with defendant Williams?
Yeah, so again, had some.
Oh, RGM, that would be so funny. RGM suggests we should run the audio through a soundboard and change them to chipmunks. I don't have one of those, so sadly I can't.
Some activity at 1:28 a.m. in Atlanta. Some activity just north of Macon at 4:38, and then activity in Miami at 1:43. So this device obviously didn't have as many calls or text messages as the other ones. Again, that's the only time we can see towers and sectors is when there's phone activity.
Publishing slide 48. Can you describe for the jury the movement depicted, if any, on this slide from the phone associated with Dora Greer?
Yeah, so again, really only two activities during this time period. We have an 11:41 activity up in Atlanta, and then down here at 9:21 near Orlando.
Agent Bernie, publishing slide 49. Can you describe for the jury the movement depicted, if any, on this slide from the phone associated with Dolly Greer?
And so again, we see that phone number listed there. Had some activity at 3:28 a.m. A little bit further down is the next one at 6:04 a.m. And then eventually some activity in and around the Miami area at 1:43 p.m. on the 11th.
Publishing slide 50. Can you describe for the jury what movement, if any, you see for the device associated with Mr. Copeland?
Yeah, so again, here we have the Copeland device, the 5991. We see on the 11th, the first activity is at 7:56 p.m. This device and the next device associated with Mr. Zachary have very similar travel patterns, but these travel patterns are different than the slides we just previously looked at. By 7:56 p.m. on the 11th, the other devices were already in Miami. So this one departs Atlanta approximately 7:56 or so, has some activity there. Around 10 o'clock, it's just there's Macon, has some activity south of Macon. And then the next activity we have is at 6:58 a.m. on the 12th, and that's down in Miami.
And in general, does the device associated with Mr. Copeland travel closely with any other devices you requested to analyze?
Yeah, you can see on the bottom of the slide here, those two, the Copeland and Zachary device, have more similar travel patterns than the others. So again, 7:56 p.m. on the 11th, device is still in Atlanta. Now we have 10 o'clock PM on the 11th, south of Macon along that. And then some activity, the first activity we see in Miami is at 6:58 AM on the 12th.
And Agent Bernie, is this, can you describe for the jury, is this what you were just discussing with the phone associated with Mr. Zachary?
It is. So again, activity at 7:37 AM, and then we see it reaches the Florida-Georgia line around 11:45 PM, has several other activities near Orlando, 2:30 AM, and then into the first activity in Miami is at 7:19 AM.
And Agent Bernie, in relation to the report you generated for the January 10th, 2015 murder of Donovan Thomas, is that in your generated report?
It does.
Now, Agent Bernie,
I'm going to go with Kristen's because I'm getting tired. I have about a half hour of work, and then I can take a 2-hour nap, and then I will return to you guys at 5:30-ish with recap of the afternoon. Now that could be a 5-minute recap because it's just this guy talking, or it can be a 2.5-hour recap because we are finally at cross-examination. But yeah, I will be sending you off to Catnod Williams. But first, thank you. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you for allowing me to try to translate this faster clock to you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I'm done. Folks, hug your family. Unless your family's crap, then screw them and give your love to the people who deserve it. I'll see you later today. Okay? See ya. Bye-bye.